welcome back for our seventh episode. We have Raptor and Skull with me here today. Unfortunately, we do not have a Ruthless. He is unavailable due to life. Uh,
Yeah.
today's fun little topic is mostly going to be listening to Skull gush about the Zelda franchise.
Yes. Um.
And me
Yeah.
learning more about a Nintendo fanboy.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Just Nintendo femboy. Come on, Raptor. There's more to the series than just Link being a twink. Also,
Hey,
I'd like to acknowledge the fact that in most of the games he's like 12.
Oh, wait, he is?
Yeah.
uh,
Ha, Raptor,
The
you
only ones
better
that
stop!
the only games that have been confirmed for him not to be 12 were
Was it like
Skyward Sword, where he was 16, Twilight Princess, where I believe he was 17 or 18, and then Breath of the Wild, in which he was over 100 years old.
Yeah, but like, does it really count because he was in stasis that entire time?
yeah,
He was 18 when he was put in the thing.
Okay, well there you go. Then he's actually taking away the
yeah,
100-year-old thing. He's actually 18. Let's be fair.
Wait, hold
yeah.
that thing. I think the link from the second Zelda game was also
Wasn't there like
16.
one link they used for like 3 games?
Two actually. Turn the TV down, please, Lacey. So, do we want to jump right in with the historical timeline start, or
It's on
the
you.
childhood stories?
It is all on you. It's wherever you want to start. This is your topic. You're the one who pushed for it, and you're the one who's getting to talk about it.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the historical timeline. So, our story, this is my favorite thing, begins in 1986 with the first Zelda game released on the NES. Um, this game was the introduction to the entire series, gave us the starting point for how the series has developed over time, and most importantly, gave us introduction to the land of Hyrule, which, as to most people know, is a land of fantasy, monsters, and mystery. The gameplay for the game and later the entire series centers on Link, the protagonist, who aims to collect different things depending on the game. It's the first one was the Triforce of Wisdom to save Princess Zelda, which is running theme. Um, Majority of your time spent in the game is going to be exploring the overworld, exploring dungeons, collecting weapons and items, defeating enemies, and uncovering secrets. Um, Most of the games in the series are what I like to call pseudo open world. I don't know if that's like an actual term or not, but essentially it seems like it's open world, but really you're like restricted to the
It's
linear pattern of
basically a closed open world where you have the
yeah,
ability to explore, but you're very limited in your ability to explore.
yeah. And before going into certain areas, there are always the things that you have to do beforehand. Um, with that, there are some exceptions. The original Legend of Zelda was for the most part open world, but in order to unlock certain secrets and do certain dungeons, you needed to be able to have items found in other ones. Another exception that I don't think has been seen in other games, at least not that I've played, was The Wind Waker, which gives you the choice later in the game of two dungeons and which order to do them in. Doesn't really make a difference which is done which. I mean, if you really want to get technical, there's the speedrunning glitches and stuff that people use that break sequence so entire chunks of the game are skipped, but that's different and usually takes actual skill to do. The majority of the games in the series have had different ups and downs in development, which has led to different art styles, like art style changes, cut content, and a lot of disappointment from a lot of people for different things. point that I want to make is with the games and the order in which they're released, it has nothing to do with the actual timeline that's presented. This timeline on its own is really controversial to a lot of fans just because they don't like how it's set up.
Can you ever please everybody? That's the thing, though. It's like,
No.
exactly. So why bother trying? So long as, like, I don't know. As long as you give it some place on the timeline, does it really even matter?
Yeah. I mean, my big issue with the timeline is the fact that the two games, the two Hyrule Warrior games, aren't counted as canon, even though they provide a really good example as to how the Breath of the Wild world is the way it is, considering the fact that with the timeline it branches off into three separate things. And for example, with the part of the timeline that we have Toon Link and stuff, we don't have the Zora, we have the Rito, we have Koroks, which is that part of the timeline. Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask, all them, they have your typical Zora and Gorons, non-harmful. Then with the Fallen Hero timeline is Lionel, so there's bits of every timeline, and it just doesn't make sense as to how they connect.
So, when you say three different things, yeah, I guess that means three
Um,
different universes in the same
three
franchise.
three different paths the timeline can take, which is a result of Ocarina of Time. You have two options with Ocarina of Time. There was a lot of time travel back and forth in that game. The main mechanic of the game being, child Link and then adult Link, withdrawing or placing the Master Sword back. That creates two timelines, one in which Link stays a child and goes back with all the knowledge he has to stop Ganon. The timeline where he stays an adult, and the third timeline where he just straight up dies in his final battle.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Is
the
that a
third
good enough
timeline
answer
was
for
something
this?
else.
Hmm?
I thought the third timeline was something else.
Nope. You've got child, adult, and then feet. Which is always fun.
big whoop.
I mean, given the fact that the entire thing starts. Let's start off with the first game in the timeline. Skyward Sword. This game sort of starts us out showing. It's not necessarily like the very beginning of the timeline, but it's what we get to see first, and it's where the curse begins in this entire cycle of
That
death and.
wouldn't that be the beginning of the timeline then of when all this actually starts?
Well, I mean, it has been hinted at that there were events before.
Yeah, but this is when the actual curse starts. This is when the Demon King actually curses the hero of time. Well, kind of hero of time. You still travel through time a little bit in Skyward Sword. Like the
Yeah.
hero of the skies essentially, and Zelda at that time, which
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a princess but also kind of not a princess, like that kind of
Well,
middle ground. Like she was the daughter of a leader, but I don't
yeah.
know if I'd attach princess to that
She
personally.
was she wasn't a princess, but she was definitely Hylia reborn in a human body.
Oh no, definitely she was the goddess reborn. There's no
Yeah,
question about that.
yeah.
Mm.
So we don't have Ganon in this game, but we definitely do have our first evil that we get to face, which is Demise.
Which basically is Ganon.
Yeah, just
The
some
original.
people might
The
hate it.
original Ganon.
Much cooler.
Debatable.
I found his design to be much more interesting than Ganon.
It's basically Ganon. I'm not gonna lie, it's
But
basically Ganon,
demon,
just a demon. So you can't say
demon.
it's that much cooler when it's basically the same thing, but just demonized.
No other Ganon had fire hair.
It's still long red hair. My God.
But yeah, anyways, after Link defeats
Mm.
Demise in the timeline, he places the curse, which essentially locks everyone in this cycle of death and rebirth.
For all time.
Yep. So after that, they go down, they start working on the establishment of the kingdom.
Okay.
Time happens. I haven't played every game in this series start to finish, so my explanations might not be the greatest.
Oh boy.
What? Before Ganon actually fully comes back on his own, we have Vati or Vatai or however you want to pronounce it. But he's essentially this little mage dude who, to my understanding, sort of gets power hungry and ends up being corrupted. And he ends up posing as the villain in Finish Chap and also the Four Swords games. With Vati, I'm pretty sure if it wasn't power hunger, I'm pretty sure it was influence from Ganon, though I'm not 100% certain. Please don't attack me for this. Sometime in between Four Swords and Ocarina of Time, a civil war breaks out. And this is where we first get to see Ganon. Yay. Ocarina of Time, he's working as an advisor for the king. His entire goal being to get in close and get to Zelda. With this specific version of Link, you're an orphan. I want to say orphan. If not orphaned, no, wait, orphaned would be the right words. You get abandoned by your parents with a bunch of fairy people, so they can go fight and die in a war and also keep you safe.
So orphan, yeah.
Yeah. You have this vision in the game, and okay, I thought I'd be fine doing this, but I'm just getting awkward now. Anyways, you have this vision, and you're like, oh, I've got to leave the forest and go save this chick. I can't remember or know that it's Zelda. Lotus, if you know the answer here, to help me out.
I don't remember if he knows exactly it's Zelda, but I believe it's Zelda he does. See, I can't really say because I've never actually played Ocarina of Time. I didn't
Cool.
start the franchise on this. I started it at Twilight Princess.
Okay, cool. So, after you wake up, you get assigned history's most annoying video game companion, Navi.
I don't know. People do
Yay.
compare her to, like, say that Fee is just as annoying, but I'm just like, take that what you will. I didn't find Fee quite as annoying as
Yeah.
what I've seen of Navi.
I mean, technically speaking, Fee dies.
I don't know
No,
who either of those
Navi
people are.
does. I wouldn't say Fee does.
I mean, she goes dormant in the sword.
Yeah, that's dormant, not dying. It's different.
It's not really all that different.
It is different.
No, it's pretty different.
It's pretty different.
actually.
It's like saying Link died in Breath of the Wild when he was just dormant in the resurrection chamber.
He did pretty much die.
Oh my gosh.
No, he was put in
Anyway.
very long slumber.
No,
Anyway.
we're not done with
time.
it. Not done with it. You don't get to escape
Um,
this so easy.
As I was
Yeah.
saying, the events of Ocarina of Time are what lead to the timeline splitting.
No.
Oh no! We're not going through this just yet. We already know this about Ocarina of Time. I think everyone knows this. So I think Rapture's gotten that point already. No, that is not the same thing. Fee does not die. She just goes dormant. She sleeps. So every time that the sword is used, she's technically there with each wielder of the sword. With
So
every
with the
new
Triumph there, with the Triumph timelines, the adult
He just ignores
timeline
us.
is
Well, I don't necessarily
yeah.
know that part
So
of the
we get
lore. I just
two.
know that there's a difference between dormant and death.
Meh. We
Facts.
get two options in Triumph
Oh, we still got
routes.
ignored.
Um, the Child Era, in which the Sacred Realm is just kind of protected, and I'm pretty sure Ganon dies. And then we have the adult era, in which he's sealed in the Sacred Realm, which leads us to the events of not Skyward Sword, the Wind Waker. Yay! Sometime in between Ganondorf being sealed in the Sacred Realm, he's resurrected, and the Din, Nehru, and Feror aren't very happy, and so they flood all of Hyrule, which lands us with the Wind Waker. Ganon is resurrected again, and we take on the role of a 12-year-old being tossed into traditions that he really doesn't care all that much about, only to find that he's the fated hero. Resurrected. Hooray.
Yee.
Link's only call to action in this game is his sister being kidnapped. And throughout the course of the game, he ends up maturing and eventually taking on the role of the hero properly. After Ganon is defeated in this timeline, we get into Phantom Hourglass. The entire premise of the Phantom Hourglass, other than time travel hourglass thingy, is treasure hunting and also looking for a new continent to rebuild Hyrule, which happens. Sometime in between there, they get the establishment of Hyrule again, which leads us into. I hate talking about this game, Spirit Tracks. Oh boy. Descend into the Hero of Winds. Some demon king gets resurrected. Not Ganon, but another demon king who happens to be some weird evil spirit train. I don't know. Spirit Tracks is kind of a mess. Moving on. Unless you guys have questions.
Not at the moment.
You're not even going to question this hero's title, Raptor?
Mm,
Each hero gets their own cool name. Get the hero of the skies, the hero of the Minish, the hero of the Four Sword, hero of time, hero of winds.
now that you mention it, very, very unique names.
The hero of trains.
Yay.
I'm sorry, I love the art style for the game, but I can't take the hero of trains seriously. Please don't crucify me, Zelda fan.
There's gonna be that one Zelda fan that's like dislikes the podcast and just
Yeah. Someone's gonna hate me for my statement. Somewhere in the world, someone is offended by my statement about not being able to take this game seriously. Child Era, another victorious hero. Do you know anything about Majora's Mask, Raptor?
I do not know.
The entire thing that happens with Majora's Mask is that Link leaves to go find Navi because somehow, despite how annoying she is, he's just like, I miss her. And he ends up falling into Termina and saving the world from an evil child possessed by a mask that is trying to destroy the world by sending the moon into the ground. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
uh,
You get stuck in a constant loop of 3 days till the end of the game, and some of the stuff you do in Majora's Mask you have to redo every single time you restart. I mean, it sounds strange, but honestly, Majora's Mask is an alright game, other than the water temple. And again, there's never any good water temples. I'll add that to the list of controversies to talk about later.
okay.
Yeah. So, Twilight Princess, Lotus, you want to help me with this one?
Oh, no, you're not deflecting off onto me. You can keep going.
No. I'm not like leaving it with you. I'm asking if you want to like chip in some stuff here.
I think you've got this. Keep going. You've got it.
Come on, Skull, you can do it.
No deflecting.
Raptor, I doubt you can handle even 15 minutes of trying to carry a conversation.
Hey, I talk about things that I know enough about, I know I can talk about.
Anyways, Twilight Princess. The hero of Twilight, I think. Sometime after Ganon's executed, a bunch of crap happens. Mainly an invasion of shadow people. Majority of Twilight Princess you spend fighting these weird shadow demon thingies, trying to restore light to Hyrule. Being a wolf. Oh god. Prepping for Ganon's resurrection and fighting him without knowing that you're gonna fight him is really a majority of it. Depending on how much exploring and stuff you do, you get stuck in some really stupid fetch quests. I mean, at least they're not as bad as the Roxy quest, but that's for later. Partnered up with Midna, who is this princess of another dimension transformed into some weird imp thing. The two of you work together to restore her kingdom and also protect Hyrule. I don't know, I don't have much to say about Twilight Princess.
Uh,
Oh boy. With the events here, we get ready for this, we get a double resurrection with Four Swords Adventures. Not only do you have to deal with Ganondorf, but you also gotta deal with Vatsy again. Yay!
still
Power of
don't
the
know
Four
what
Swords.
is
You get to play as 4 links and solve puzzles and collect force gems. Rescue maidens in distress that have been crystallized.
Huh.
It's pretty fun, honestly. There's some really interesting mechanics, and it's definitely up there in my favorite game. Oh boy. Oh boy, do you know what time it is?
Adventure
We get to
time?
talk about dead people. the fallen hero timeline. Yay. throughout this timeline, there's a great decline of Hyrule. Just everything turns to crap because Ganon's in control. It's like if you look at the Lion King and what Scar did, but make it worse. Everything turns out to be really bad, and people don't think there's going to be another hero, and then there's another hero, and another resurrection, because Ganon ends up being resurrected after a while. He ruled, and then he died, and someone was like, we gotta bring him back. Bring us into A Link to the Past, which is another game about time travel. Yay! Oracle of Ages and Seasons. I don't think they take place in Hyrule. They're the only two games that I haven't played, so I'm not gonna get into anything here, but Ganon's resurrected again! This is a running theme! Yeah, they're just this constant back and forth of light and dark. Wee! A lot of dead guys getting resurrected, really. So I guess technically speaking, he's not a human anymore. In this timeline, he gets turned into a boar thing. He's corrupted by darkness and turns into a monster, essentially. More of a monster than he already was.
So, like a boar pig themed thing?
I'll send you a picture later. Link's Awakening. I haven't played all of this one. I really want to. Essentially, you're on an island that's not real. It's all a dream.
Okay.
Yeah. The name should have been pretty self-explanatory. Your entire aim in the game, once you find out you're in a dream, is to wake up the creature that you're a part of the dream of.
To be fair, that doesn't necessarily mean you should know that it's like a dream kind of game. There's a lot of games who would use that awakening kind of thing, and it have nothing to do with having to awake something. It's usually something awakening in you.
I mean, technically speaking, Link's really not a hero in this game, considering the fact that he ends up killing all of his friends and stuff at the end because he has to wake up the dreamfish. Yeah.
I mean,
He
that
kills
doesn't.
an entire
Oh my
society
gosh.
of people.
But if it's a dream, then they were never real to begin with. So is it really killing them?
I mean, they were real to him until he realized it was a dream.
Then, oh my god, then it doesn't count if it's a dream.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. You need to play more video games. That's my only conclusion.
The Legend of Zelda. You'll never guess what happens again.
Bad guy
Ganon's
resurrected.
Yeah, this is the first game in the timeline. And you know, you play as this 10-year-old. He's 10 in this one.
Okay.
You play as a 10-year-old who's given a magic sword by an old man in a cave.
Oh my
you
god.
collect pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom to save Zelda and defeat Ganondorf. 6 years pass, and Ganon's almost resurrected again, and Zelda's put under a sleeping spell. You're 16 now, still carrying the same magic sword and stuff. More experienced now. You wake Zelda up and stop Ganon from being resurrected. That's the end of the general timeline.
I'm sorry, but that part with like the old man giving him a sword in a cave.
It's dangerous to go alone and take this.
Hey, youngin, you want this cool thing? You want a piece of candy?
Anyways, ignoring Raptor. Sometime in between the events of the ends of these timelines, something happens that merges timelines. It's never been confirmed as canonical by Nintendo, but again, I very firmly believe that it's the events of the Hyrule Warriors games. At least the first one. Age of Calamity is just a really cool what if of if the champions didn't die. Hooray. Breath of the Wild. before the game happens, big battle with Ganon, and Zelda sacrifices herself to seal Ganon away and is kept with him until Link ends up waking up. And depending on your route in the game, you either remember your stuff or just don't. It's optional.
Really?
But yeah, Breath of the Wild, the first fully open world Zelda game.
Oh.
It's great. You get to meet people or not. You can explore Hyrule or just take whatever crappy weapons you have and rush straight to the castle to fight Ganon head on. And that's just what's optional. Your only quest in this game, after you talk to the old man to finish the tutorial, your only goal is literally just to destroy Ganon. That's it. It's fun.
Yeah, I kind of. It
It's
takes
also
a
the
lot
first
of strategy for that game, though. That's something that I've learned in the beginning.
strategy. What's that? Breath of the Wild is the first game in the series to have full voice acting for almost everybody. It's also one of the first to have really nice animated cutscenes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Breath of the Wild was honestly like a massive change from the rest of the series.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that Breath of the Wild is the best Zelda game by far, and if that's the
It is.
case,
It really is.
I can definitely see
The
why.
amount of care that went into this game is just amazing. It's beautiful to see what they were able to do and how the series grew in the 30 some years that it's been around. I act like I've been here to watch the entire series grow and evolve, but I haven't. The Wind Waker released in the Americas and pretty much everywhere outside of Japan after I was born. I guess before I was born.
Okay. And
Sorry, I was interrupted by a small child asking about pickles.
Uh, okay.
Yeah, the series has grown and changed over the years, and a lot of really stupid theories have happened. Like, for some reason, a lot of people strongly believe that every game in the Zelda series that ends up getting delayed because they're working on it is gonna be the last game in the series is just it's stupid, considering the fact that almost every Zelda game gets delayed. Like, none of the games are perfect. I mean, if you look at The Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time, there's a lot of stuff that got cut out in the games because they just went too. They had too much. They had too many ideas for too little time. And a lot of stuff got cut, and a lot of people got mad. The Wind Waker was meant to be a lot more open world and like exploration based. There were a lot of really cool temples and items and stuff that got scrapped because of the time constraints. Honestly, just the entire development of The Wind Waker was a complete train wreck that a lot of people were really mad about. There was a completely different art style that was proposed for the game when it was shown in trailers and stuff, and when the game did come out officially, a lot of people were mad to see the sort of cartoony Link that we got. There was an entire island and dungeon cut from the game completely because of time limitations.
Huh.
Yeah. There's some pretty cool mechanics
again, to be
that were
fair, that
scrapped.
happens with just about a lot of video games
Yeah,
anyway. I
yeah.
mean, it's happened a lot with the
Just
Pokemon
yes,
franchise
I
too.
know. Just let me have this, Lotus. The Wind Waker
No,
is
I'm
my favorite
not.
game.
I'm
The
not
Wind
gonna let
Waker
you
is my
have
favorite game.
this.
Let me have
I don't
this.
care. You're not having this.
I'm having this.
Well, too bad. I'm here to ruin it.
Hmm.
Because every game faces this where they have big expectations and they show off things that, they want in the game, but because of time and money and resources, they're not actually able to add it in. I mean, just look at Dragon Age 2. That was a whole mess, but I mean, what's the problem? As long as you guys liked the final product, that's all that matters.
Yeah, Wind Waker, very, very flawed game. A lot of people, like, it's one of those games that a lot of people, when they play it as a kid, they don't see anything wrong with it, and it's like a really, really good game. But you go back to play it as an adult, and it's just one of those things where you're just like, this isn't as good as I thought it was. Um, yeah. But Wind Waker is one of those games, but some people, myself included, enjoy the game despite its flaws and everything. It was the first video game I ever played.
So you're blinded by nostalgia almost.
I mean, I'm aware of like what's wrong with the game. I just quite enjoy it still. It brings me good memories. And even though it kind of sucks and it's broken in some ways, I mean, have you seen any of the clips of the speedrunning glitches? My god, it's hilarious.
I mean, I personally find a lot of older games to actually be better than modern games, my opinion.
I mean, when it
Personally.
comes to storytelling in games, I usually find older games to be pretty good, but when it comes to games that I find, at least in this series, are really good, a lot of people are going to be mad at me for saying this because just for whatever reason, I've heard a lot of people just completely crap on Skyward Sword as a game entirely. Not even just for like one reason or another. Just I hate the entire game because the motion controls are bad. They don't look farther than that. Skyward Sword probably has one of the best written stories game-wise, considering the fact that they planned for it to be the start of the timeline. There was a lot taught to us, a lot that we learned. A lot of Beetle. God, I hate Beetle. Um, give me a minute. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, controversies.
Oh dear.
Um, so I've talked about the issues of the timeline. I've talked about the problems with the modern games, mainly the motion controls. Um, there was a lot of controversy with the second Zelda game, just because they went from this top-down open world game to a 2D platformer thing, kind of like Mario, but not. Um,
I mean,
there's a lot of
guys were like made by Nintendo, yeah.
um, the Mario, Zelda, and Donkey Kong games were all made by the same guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
of course, there's gonna be that controversy with all three of those things.
yeah. A lot of people had issues with a lot of the art style changes throughout the series, mainly because just you get the early demo or whatever, the early showing for E3, and then you get a completely different art style. A lot of people were mad about that. It wasn't even just the Wind Waker, but it's funny. Toon Link ended up being the most reoccurring Link design-wise. The design was present for both Four Swords games, the Minish Cap, Wind Waker, both of the DS Zelda games, being Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Um, one that's not game change based for controversy is Sheik's gender. A lot of people still argue about this. Sheik was Zelda in disguise, and the entire reason why people referred to Sheik as male was to help further press the illusion that Zelda was not Zelda. Yay!
People still argue that.
Sheik is male, yes. I mean, it does bring forward a really fun headcanon that a lot of people have, because the whole looking for representation thing is always fun, but is it trans Zelda?
Trans Zelda!
Yeah. Like, a lot of people, like, genuinely believed for the longest time that because of the way Sheik was addressed before they revealed themselves to be Zelda, that it was, like, gender reassignment, which is cool. but also
Oh
kind
my.
of stupid because there are
Yeah,
too many things that prove that it's not true.
that is kind of stupid. Yeah.
I mean, it's cool at the same time, though. The
More
voice
stupid than
acting
anything else.
controversy. A lot of people got mad, and after the train wreck that was the 80s Zelda cartoon and the Philips CDI games, a lot of people believe that Link shouldn't have a voice. Granted, a big reason for why he doesn't talk, at least until it's explained in Breath of the Wild, is so that you can easily project yourself onto the character.
Yeah,
I
all I
mean,
know of
there's the
the
reason why.
Zelda.
That's why we get personality-based dialogue options in Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. Yay!
I mean, all I know of the Zelda TV series from the 80s, the memes.
Yeah, the show was memed on quite a bit.
When you say the personality dialogue options, don't you mean option A or option B? For the most part.
There was more with not Twilight Princess, with Skyward Sword. There was like 3 options usually,
I meant Breath of
but
the Wild.
Breath of the Wild was 2 options, but still. I mean, if you really want to get into the like really stupid arguments of voice acting, there were actually 2 instances. Well, one that I can definitely confirm, one that's like a lot of people either hear it or don't. The Wind Waker, Link spoke twice. In the dungeons where you bring Makar, the little Korok dude, and then Melody, the bird chick.
Mhm.
When you're in the dungeons, you can call them, and if you listen closely, you can hear Link very clearly say, "Come on, we." There's also a little quest where you gotta follow this chick around. I'm not sure if it's optional or not, I can't remember. But if you get too close and you're hiding behind something, she'll turn around and Link meows.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Um, okay.
Well, she'll turn around, right? You're hiding behind something. She'll ask who's there. And so he'll meow, and it's like, oh, it's just a cat. I'm fine. Keep going. Then, supposedly in Twilight Princess, and this is one that I learned more recently, and don't hear it. A lot of people claim to hear Link say "Giddy up" while riding Epona. I do not know. Lotus, did you hear it when you played through Twilight Princess?
I don't remember last time I played Twilight Princess was back in like what sophomore year of high school a decade ago.
Oh, you're very helpful.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's those. Yeah, the cartoon and the Philips CDI games, train wrecks, both of them. They're just memes now at this point. Boy. So, Breath of the Wild. Um,
Wild.
like I was saying, I don't know if we were recording or not yet, but the timeline, at some point it merges. Lionels are only ever present in the Fallen Hero timeline for some reason. I don't know. It's good. They get less game time because they're scary, especially in Breath of the Wild. Um, we get the Rito and Koroks from the adult timeline, the Gorons and Zora from the child timeline. I'm tired right now. Ignore me, but also don't.
Yeah, if you were
Um,
ignoring you, that would kind of defeat the entire purpose of this podcast, wouldn't it?
yeah. Um, Hyrule Warriors. Not Age of Calamity, but the first one. Even though a lot of people, Nintendo included, don't count it as a part of the timeline, I do genuinely believe it to be a good explanation for why things are the way they are. I mean, we get characters from each bit of the timeline pulled together to fight. I mean, given the fact that time travel is a thing, dimensional travel, if you think of A Link Between Worlds. And also, I guess, the Oracle games. And the Minish Cap. Okay, there's a lot of, like, travel between different worlds in the series. It's totally a viable reason for why. And given the
So,
fact that I don't think the timeline has been updated between the release of the Hyrule Warriors games and Breath of the Wild, it could very well be a valid thing.
a lot of time travel, a lot of worldly travel, and a lot of villain resurrection.
Yeah. The
Good
the
to know.
timeline is so convoluted and it's honestly kind of funny. But at the same time, I don't know, this game series is an amazing mess of just different ideas, concepts.
I don't know. I've seen messier.
Yeah,
I've seen messier. Holy crap!
yeah. I mean, if there's one thing I really
Yeah, there are a
appreciate,
lot of
is,
messy franchises out there.
Do we want to talk about Fallout?
one thing I really want to give the Skyward Sword games credit for, and a lot of people, again, just hate on this game for no reason, is it laid out a lot of groundwork for things that were present in Breath of the Wild that were more refined. The item durability system, the stamina system, the removal of the magic meter, thankfully.
I thought that happened a while ago.
No,
Yeah, I thought they took it out in
I
like one of
mean,
the other games.
it wasn't present in Twilight Princess, but Twilight Princess was planned to have it implemented. We ended up with the Lantern Oil gauge, which was essentially the same thing.
But it's not magic, so at least it's
No,
not fully. So like it doesn't really count.
it doesn't. It does, but it doesn't.
No. I count it as a whole different kind of system, not a magic meter or
It's
magic
the
gauge.
same mechanic.
More or less, but different concept, more or less. I wouldn't count it as being the same, technically.
Um. So Dark Link. He had a bigger role in Ocarina of Time, but he's actually introduced as early as the second Zelda game. He's been a reoccurring villain, challenge, boss thing throughout the series. Quite fun. Yeah, dealing with your own shadow. Wonder what that could have possibly been inspired by.
Um, yeah, I don't get it.
Here's a fun fact for you, Raptor. Did you know that Link was inspired by a certain Disney character?
Um, I it was inspired by Peter Pan, right?
Yep, Link was inspired by Peter Pan.
Yeah. I read through that thing that you left.
Yes, good. You should have been able to answer that right away then.
I've read
I
through
mean,
it.
I didn't think about that until recently. Though, I mean, it makes sense. Being inspired by Peter Pan, constantly having to fight your shadow, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Though I don't know a lot about Peter Pan, all I know is that he was like popular back in like the older Disney days.
Yeah.
And I'm no, he wasn't tiny and been able to fly. I'm pretty sure that was uh
Um,
yeah, I'm gonna hurt my brain if I think about it anymore.
do you want to talk about myths, hoaxes, and theories then?
Um, I guess just to get my mind on something else before I think
Um,
about this too hard.
with Ocarina of Time, a lot of people genuinely believed that there was a way to get the Triforce. It was a rumor, and also like faked quite a few times throughout the like big like the high point of Ocarina of Time's popularity, there was a lot of like controversies and not controversies, myths and stuff that happened around the N64
It's a
time though.
lot like trying to find the Mew under the pickup truck in the original Pokemon games.
Or Luigi in Super Mario 64.
Can you guys give me an example that is not a Nintendo game? Because I have only just gotten into Nintendo recently, and
You're out of luck there, buddy.
I only know Nintendo.
It's a lot like people making rumors that you can get X weapon or armor in a certain game, but like it's just a rumor and you can't actually do it without like console commands, cheats, or mods, basically.
Speaking of Triforce and Ocarina of Time, just this summer, when Summer Games Done Quick was done, which is like not really like a competition, but more like a charity event where they get a bunch of speedrunners to speedrun different games. Um, this team of people presented. They used a bunch of console commands and stuff on an original unmodded N64, and what they did was they were able to implement all of the myths that people believe to be true into Ocarina of Time. And it ended up being a really big deal for a lot of people.
a really big deal in like a good way or a
Yeah, like
bad
in
way?
a good way, because, all of these people who, they were growing up when the game came out, right?
Yeah.
Um, and, they listened to all these myths and stuff and talked to each other about how they thought to get to these secrets. For them to finally see someone put all the work in to implement all the unused stuff from the game to actually make it into something real was really cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's a Twitch stream recap on YouTube somewhere. More Ocarina of Time myths. The Running Man. In Ocarina of Time, there's this dude you can race against, and for the longest time, a lot of people thought it would be possible to beat him. But speedrunners learned that even with speedrunning glitches and stuff, that the dude would always beat you within at least 1 second. It was never intended for you to be able to beat him.
Um.
It's just one of those. It kind of sucks. It's one of those things where you get your hopes up only to find out that it's not real. Disappointing.
So
At some point in time, people believed that when Twilight Princess was getting ported to the Wii, that they were also going to do a remake of Wind Waker in the same style as Twilight Princess. This was not true, and a lot of people were really mad when they found out that there wouldn't be a pre-order for this.
That's their own damn fault.
Yeah, yeah. Though I will say the Wind Waker HD is really good. I mean, it's not, implementing stuff that we couldn't implement because of system limitations in the past, or things we didn't have time to implement, kind of like what they did with the cutscenes in the Skyward Sword remaster. But it was definitely something.
Moving on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Skull?
Give me a minute, I'm thinking.
Oh
Do
my
you want to
gosh.
add anything? What? I'm sorry, I have too much in my head.
Is that really too much in your head if you can't think of what you want to say?
There's too many things to talk about.
Uh,
Tingle!
oh dear lord.
Here's something a
Uh.
lot of people didn't know. Tingle, despite being a quite hated character,
Has
ended
his
up
own
getting his
video
own
game
set of
franchise in Japan
yeah,
only. Yes, I am aware of
yeah.
that.
Um,
Because he was loved by the Japanese, but he was hated by the Americans pretty much. So because
yeah,
of him being loved on the home turf, they pretty much had to like keep him around more or less.
yeah. Tingle's brothers on Tingle Island in the Wind Waker aren't actually his brothers. It's been implied that they're people he just kind of kidnapped and now work for him.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
So this is fun.
yeah, it's fun. I'm having fun. I'm just suffering with ideas right now.
Is that what you call it?
Hey, why don't we talk about our favorite characters from Breath of the Wild?
Mid, Mifa.
Yes.
We already know yours.
What do you mean?
Uh-huh, what do we mean?
Sidon's cool, but like, I don't know what you mean beyond that.
Uh-huh, sure you don't.
Raptor, do you have any opinion on any of the characters in Breath of the Wild?
I mean, Link.
Can you really expect a guy to say anything else other than Link, who hasn't played, like, what is it, a quarter of the game?
I mean, fair enough. But I'm pretty sure the Raptor's only reason for liking Link is the Gerudo outfit.
Isn't it also just expressed in general that he's seen as a femboy across many
Yeah,
different
the
titles?
the long blonde hair and
Just because someone has long blonde hair doesn't make them
yeah,
a femboy.
I
You
know.
can't
I've
be emo and Southern at the same time. Look at Twilight Princess Link
one
and
of my
talk to me
coworkers
now.
has long blonde hair. He is in no way a femboy. Even my dad has long blonde hair. Not a femboy in the slightest.
And it still
You're
makes it
really
so
derailing
weird
this
that you bring it up then. The long blonde hair. Knowing
I was
full
gonna
well.
list off a few other things.
Oh my
You said
gosh.
it so dreamily,
Yeah, you
too!
did! Do you
Screw
have a
off.
thing for blondes? Because I'm not going to judge you, because I do too, but. uh, that's
I
great.
mean,
Have any
honestly,
of
if
you
any,
guys read the non-canon Zelda manga?
Fuck
Like,
that,
any of
no.
them?
Do
nah.
I look
Okay.
like someone who's got time for that?
They're really short for the most part. They're like kitty mangas, but they're really good. I like the art styles.
No, I could not handle that. No, thank you. There's only so much I'm willing to tolerate.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say anything. The Twilight Princess manga is actually really good.
Mm.
That one was not a kitty manga. That one's like really friggin' dark.
I mean, stuff can be aimed towards kids and still be dark.
I'm pretty sure that the rating is teen though.
So,
I would go double check, but my manga's packed away in boxes.
mm. Any other talking points you had, Skull?
Oh, the Zelda series has several different enemies, and there's only one that carries across the entire series,
Yeah, I
surprisingly.
think you went through those in full detail.
The Stalfos? Like, the
Uh,
skeletons. The skeletons are the only ones that are seen in every single game in the series.
uh,
What?
such riveting stuff.
Yeah. Um, trying to think of something here. Did you know that there's a shooting game based off of, well, like a shooting mini game, like shooting
Archery
gallery mini game?
based, yes.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
yeah. Link's crossbow training.
Is on the Wii, I believe.
It used the Wii Zapper, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's honestly like a handful of different spin-off games. Raptor, did you know there's a gender bent version of Link only present in a handful of spin off games?
Oh.
Yeah. Linkle, who is just a crossbow wielding, chicken loving farm girl who happens to go through a very similar quest to Link, but to not as much greatness. Though I'm pretty sure she does genuinely believe she's supposed to be the hero or whatever. I can't remember.
Uh. Mm,
Oh,
I may have to see a picture of this female version of Link.
of course you would.
Well, honestly, I might
No, no
actually because
amount of trying to rephrase that can make it any less creepy than you made it.
what?
Just
And
and then I'm gonna need to
Hey,
see
no,
this. It's just like
no, no, you dirty-minded.
it's funny you
everything.
said it.
Yeah, like everything that comes out of your mouth comes that way, Raptor. I'm sorry, you just have that aura about you, and it's very unsettling, and you brought it upon yourself.
I'm
Okay, I'm
sorry.
kind
It's
of
not my
I'm
fault that I.
incredibly
It's not my fault I talk that way. I just do.
I am incredibly disappointed in the sequel to A Link Between Worlds, especially given the fact that it was also technically meant to be what was essentially reimagining Four Swords, but it was only 3 players. And the most disappointing thing is that it wouldn't have been hard for them to implement 4-player crossplay. There are several other Nintendo 3DS titles that do the same thing. Look at the Smash Bros. Games, which were 8 players, or the later Smash games, the 3DS and Wii U, one
Really,
that a
that's
lot
eight
of people
players? I
have
thought it
issue
was
with.
just 4.
No, that's up to 8.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
You can have 4 playing on Wii Remote, 4 on GameCube controller, or 4 on Wii Remote, 4 on DS. There's also the gamepad, but no one uses the gamepad.
I'm assuming you're talking about Smash Bros. Ultimate, right?
No, I'm talking about Smash Brothers U, which is for the Wii U.
Yeah, I thought you said latest.
The thing that makes me the most upset about Triforce Heroes is the fact that they made a little. If you go into a certain corner of the main map, you can actually find a 4th little sculpture doll dude that looks like the ones that you control in the single player story mode. And they basically said, like, what I read from it at least was, okay, here's your player 4, broken and forgotten. There you go.
Mhm.
Enjoy. It is just the worst. I don't know. I found it disappointing. It's definitely fun though. It's not counted as a part of the official timeline, I don't believe. But they stopped updating that after The Link Between Worlds came out. Excuse me for a minute, I've got to go chase a small child to get ready for their bath. I'll be
Hey,
right
have
back.
fun with that.
Lotus, now's your chance to talk about your experience with Twilight Princess.
Ha! You expect me to
Yay!
remember that?
Well, you played Breath of the Wild, right?
You're lucky if I remember last week.
Okay, Raptor, talk about Breath of the Wild for a bit.
Mm.
I don't expect you to remember either, Raptor, if I'm being entirely honest with you.
I'm assuming you're just gonna cut this part out of the final
Who
part
says I'm cutting
product.
it out? As long as we're talking, that's all that fucking matters. To
I
be honest,
mean,
I'm not sure how much longer this one's gonna last. Poor Skull's working on everything they can, but I think they're reaching the end of their talking points. It's been
yeah,
interesting. It's been interesting, but
I mean, I still think it was pretty good.
it was good. Just I thought it'd be more like him talking about his favorite games than just spewing facts.
Mm,
I don't know. We'll see. I have enjoyed it, but again, like I've heard a lot of this stuff on other YouTube videos too. Wait, I kid you not, because like if you don't even really have to like partake in the franchise Raptor, like a lot of this stuff people like to talk about a lot on YouTube, like literally just look up Zelda or in like timeline or anything like that, then you'll learn a whole fuck ton of shit from other YouTubers, and they'll go into like big, lengthy, hour-long things about it too, and I'm just like, oh dear, but it's something to play in the background, to be entirely honest. And I mean, to be honest, like the games as a whole, I really don't care for them. They're okay, but I don't care. Even the open world Breath of the Wild one, I really don't care. Some of you may not like that, or some of you might agree, but like, I don't care for Zelda.
I mean, as I said, I've only really played like a little bit of Breath of the Wild,
Didn't
so
you
I
only
got
get like the paraglider last time we talked, or were you a little bit past
uh,
that?
I got a little further than that. I got the paraglider, journeyed a little bit. I've reached this, I guess, village. I've talked to this old ass lady.
Oh yeah, you made it to the Sheikah village then. The one that's up in the mountains, pretty much. I think.
I believe so.
Is it next to a fairy fountain?
Fairy fun. Ah, shit.
Because, like, if you go
Eh,
up the path leading up into the mountains, you'll find, like a path. I don't know where it leads, but I know there's a fairy fountain nearby.
I mean, I believe I remember it being near up in the mountains, pretty
So,
much.
yeah, it's the Sheikah village then. Because the only other village I can think of that has, like, a kind of old lady but looks like a child, actually, is more in, like, a field, a hilly field.
That's Hateno Village, and that's
Words.
Pura. Her name is Pura.
The one I'm talking about?
No, the one I was talking about.
Huh.
The one you're talking about is the former like bodyguard to Zelda.
Impa.
Yeah, the old ass lady in the Sheikah
Oh,
village.
yeah. Yeah, that was her name.
Fun fact, Impa's name is based off of the word impart.
uh, I'm not sure if I get the joke there, if there is a joke at all.
Not only was she Zelda's protector, but also her guide.
Hmm. Um, yeah.
B.
Silence.
Anything else you want to say, Skull?
I'm mostly running on fun facts right now because that's all that's coming to my mind.
Do we want to call it for this one then? Do you think you
Well,
mentioned
how long have you been going for?
a little over an
Uh,
hour?
a little over an hour, yeah.
Here's a fun fact. Did you know that Link is left-handed in all of the Zelda games up until the games on the Wii because of the motion controls and them trying to accommodate for right-handed people wielding their Wiimotes dangerously?
Yes.
Hey, magical change to canon.
What do you mean? It wasn't a change to canon, it was more just they mirrored the games. When they ported Twilight Princess to the Wii, they straight up just mirrored the entire game.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
The only Link that's technically speaking, like, right-handed in a way that isn't mirrored is Skyward Sword Link.
Uh,
Interesting, right?
eh.
So, anything else?
Uh, not really, unless you want to talk about the 500 different ways to kill Link in Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
I think we've all explored that except for Raptor.
Oh, he'll get to explore that soon enough.
Yeah, don't
I'll
don't ruin the
now.
surprises for him. Let him figure
I'll
that out.
I mean, I've already died quite a lot in what little I've played of Breath of the Wild, honestly.
I'm ashamed of you.
That's sad.
That is.
That's really sad. I can count on two hands the amount of times I died throughout my first playthrough of Breath of the Wild. Most of it
I
was
mean,
in
I
the
wouldn't
final
say a
battle.
lot. I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but
You said a lot.
You did say a lot.
Yeah, you
well,
did.
yeah, I would say a lot. I did say a lot, but I
Oh
probably
gosh.
not a lot.
Oh my gosh. Why must you contradict yourself? why must you try and save face when it's already gone, Raptor?
What face?
It's okay, Raptor. We were all in your spot too. Don't worry,
Yeah,
Skull is there sometimes too.
what's your opinion on Girahim?
Who?
Who the hell?
The evil sword dude.
He's
The
got
really
a
annoying
thing
one. You have to.
for. He's definitely got a thing for Link, and it's hard not to see why people would make fan art of them.
Yeah. My favorite memory of Girahim was just making him the token for our final boss.
Gosh.
in
Wait, are you
It was
talking about
fitting
the?
though.
Are you talking
Skyward
about like
Sword,
that?
Raptor. It's the technically secondary antagonist to Demise. He's the right hand of Demise, who is chasing down Zelda pretty much throughout the entire game, and you're the one that comes across him more often than not because you're always late to the party, and Girahim is always like just a little bit ahead of you, but also behind Zelda, so you get to deal with him.
Uh, yeah, but this person you're talking is that whatever fish person that sometimes people ship Link with or whatever.
No, no, Sidon is much better than Girahim. Don't worry. Don't even get started on that.
Well, technically, if you want high energy and that kind of like, I don't know, there's a certain energy it brings that it makes it a little more appealing at times than Link and Sidon.
Is
I
that
said
their
it.
name,
Yeah.
Sidon?
Sidon is
Is it?
the fish boy, the shark
Yes.
prince.
I mean, you guys all know. Listeners all know my take on shipping in the Zelda series.
Ship Link with the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's that, but there's a different opinion I have for much better ship. But that was also exposed in the shipping episode. My reasoning for why.
Sure was.
I mean, mostly all I've seen for you from ship either hot or cute males with other males.
There's also a lot of rivalries.
Uh-huh.
There's also a lot
Yeah,
of rivalries. There's a lot of rivalries. I don't know
Uh-huh.
what it is with me and the appeal of rival shipping.
males and
We
males.
You just say what it is, M/M.
Yeah.
Slash yeah, I like that.
Though I will admit there are a handful of ships in the Zelda fandom that I am very much against. I'm not gonna get into them here. Just because again, I don't want to be crucified. So I'm probably just.
All I gotta say is, welcome to the internet.
Welcome to the internet.
Yeah, it
So you're
doesn't
gonna get
matter. The moment you speak something, someone's gonna crucify you for it.
Raptor, don't sing copyright song. We'll get
Yeah,
copyright
that's
strike.
yeah. I stopped myself because I I've
You're gonna
crossed my
demonetize
mind.
us. We're not even monetized.
Yeah, as much as I want to sing that song right now, I can't.
Just sing it in your head later.
Oh, too late. I'm singing it in my head right now.
Zelda timeline. End of the day, Zelda timeline in series is a mess of adventure, resurrection, death, betrayal. Um, a lot of really interesting characters and stories. Trains. Some really interesting myths and hoaxes that people have brought on. I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to do more fandom episodes like this, but I can definitely say, at least with my experience in the Zelda fandom, that it's one of the more chill fandoms I've been in.
No fandom's ever like that. It's a lie.
It's not like, I don't know, like, even just interacting with people on Twitter and stuff in the Zelda fandom, I have found very few toxic people. And
In
the
my
ones that
experience,
do
there's
get outed are the
toxicity
ones that
everywhere.
we don't interact with.
So anything else? Let's go.
For listeners who haven't played a Zelda game yet, I highly recommend you pick one up. Any game in the series will be fine, except for
So I
maybe Spirit Tracks.
though I assume you mostly recommend Breath of the Wild.
For new people coming in, any games on the Wii or Switch would be probably the easiest to get your hands on. Maybe the 3DS. But if you can't get access to any of that, there's a lot of emulators. And if you do have a Switch and Nintendo Switch Online, they've got a lot of Zelda games from past consoles.
I would have loved to know that before.
They've got the first two Zelda games for the NES emulator and A Link to the Past for the SNES emulator. I've heard rumors that there might be Game Boy games coming, but don't take my word for that.
Yeah,
If you have
honestly,
if you have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion, they've got Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. They've got Link's Awakening in a remastered format. Skyward Sword has been remastered. They've got Breath of the Wild. There's also Breath of the Wild. Oh my god. Okay, there's the Breath of the Wild sequel coming either sometime later this year or like middle to late next year.
oh yeah, I
Super
heard about that.
excited. I can't wait. I haven't looked at any trailers really. I've seen the initial one. I am incredibly excited to see what they're going to do. And as much as it sucks that the game does keep getting pushed back, it just means that they're trying to make a good game. They're trying their best. And aside from Spirit Tracks, which I didn't play until I was older, I haven't been disappointed by a Zelda game yet.
Honestly, I see that as like a good quality of game developers when if they like push the date back.
Well,
In the sense that
yeah.
that they're
I
trying
mean,
to put a lot of effort to
yeah,
bring people the best product that they
yeah.
can come with.
I saw the video where they announced officially that they were pushing back the release of the Breath of the Wild sequel, and they made like a very very formal apology. Like the people the higher ups at Nintendo of Japan are very much dedicated to trying to make this really well.
Yeah, that's something that really tells me that they're not just doing it for the money. They really want to give it their best so they can give people the best.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, the Zelda series has such a rich history of lore development. It's just, I mean, I'm not super big into other games, but when it comes to other games, none of them really compare to the amount of time spent on stuff with the Zelda games. I mean, you know, it's one of the longest running Nintendo game series alongside Mario and a few others, but there's just something really special about Zelda games and the amount of effort that they put in. Because no matter where you start in the series, be it, Breath of the Wild or even earlier games, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, no matter where you start in the series, usually it's enough to where you either want to go back and play the older games or you eagerly wait for the next one to come out. It's one of those series. I'm sure you guys each have a
I'm
series
gonna
like
push
that where
back
you
on
want to
that
go
and
back.
say it also depends on the type of games that you like. Because Zelda also
Yeah.
does have a lot of puzzles in it as well. And if you're not someone for puzzles and figuring things out, then it's also not quite your game either.
Well, I mean, Breath of the Wild isn't so much like that. There are a few shrines if you're like a
Oh,
really
the shrines can be
heavy
pretty
complete.
bad.
Some
I
of the
mean,
shrines can be bad,
I will
but
admit,
I mean,
the shrines that
for
I
for
did
people
visit.
who for people who do enjoy like the heavy combat, brute forcing your way through, there's a lot of that in Breath of the Wild as well.
Yeah, but not so much really the other games. Like, yeah, you have to fight, but you also have to rely on your ability to like solve puzzles and things like that, and
Yeah,
get creative. And like, not everyone wants to do that. I'm
yeah.
gonna
I
be
mean,
honest.
everyone that I know who's played through at least the one Zelda game and really, really enjoyed it has gone back and played other games or waited for another one to come out. I don't know. It's an interesting series. There's goods, there's bads. There's really bads, but we don't talk about those because they're not official Nintendo games. There's the fandom, there's the memes. There's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a fandom. It's definitely a fandom heavy game series. Um,
Fandoms will be fandoms.
yeah, yeah. You have no idea how many people have drawn Link and the Gerudo outfits since Breath of the Wild came out. There's a staggering amount of Link in the Gerudo outfits compared to like any other fan art for Breath of the Wild that I've seen at least. I mean, don't get me wrong, the design is really cool. Um, I don't know, Breath of the Wild is an interesting beast. And I'm really excited to see what Nintendo does next. Oh boy. I think that uh, I think that is a good point to leave it off, you know? Like, try games, you know, if you enjoy them, play them. If you end up learning to love the series or growing to love a series, enjoy it. And when it comes to games, I'll always remember, especially in the Zelda series, to jokingly hate on games instead of like genuinely just. I mean, you can genuinely hate a game. It's just easier to deal with if you're like presenting your disliking for the games in a joking manner.
Mm.
Mainly because it's just really easy to make jokes out of why people dislike games in the series. Um, I threw myself off there. Unless you guys have anything more to add, I think I'm done.
I think we can wrap it up right there.
Yeah, I
This
think
was
so.
fun.
Alright, this has been mostly Skull, with his tips and facts on Zelda.
Mm,
And while me and Raptor listen, so everyone have a good morning, night, evening, or whatever the case may be, and see you all next week.
Peace out.